If you're even thinking about a BMW 1 Series F40, you're probably standing at that dangerous crossroads where your heart wants a premium badge, and your brain is whispering, "Don't mess this up." The BMW 1 Series F40 was introduced in 2019 and has been in production ever since, and it represents one of the biggest philosophical shifts BMW has ever made. This is the moment when the 1 Series stopped being rear-wheel drive, stopped pretending it was a baby 3 Series, and fully embraced front-wheel drive, with all-wheel drive added on the spicy versions. That decision alone scared off some die-hard fans and pulled in a whole new crowd who just wanted a stylish, comfortable, modern hatchback that still felt like a BMW. So if you're shopping for one, whether new or used, you need to know exactly what you're getting into, what engines make sense, which ones to avoid, and what kind of problems might be lurking beneath that glossy paint and LED lighting. From the outside, the F40 doesn't really look like a revolution, and that's kind of the trick. It still has that familiar BMW face, the short overhangs, the wide stance, and just enough aggression to make it stand out in a car park full of generic hatchbacks. But underneath, this car is a completely different animal compared to the old F20 generation. The UKL2 platform it rides on is shared with cars like the X1, X2, and even some mini models, which explains a lot about how it drives, how it's packaged, and why it feels the way it does on the road. Interior space is better, especially in the back seats, the boot is more usable, and the cabin finally feels like it belongs in the same decade as the rest of BMW's lineup. But the big question is whether all of that comes at the cost of reliability, character, and long-term ownership happiness. Let's talk engines first, because that's where most buying decisions are won or lost. BMW offered the F40 with a pretty wide range of petrol and diesel engines, depending on market and model year, and while none of them are outright disasters, some definitely make more sense than others. On the petrol side, the lineup starts with the 116i. This uses BMW's 1.5-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, known internally as the B38. In the 116i, it produces around 109 horsepower. It's not fast, and it's not pretending to be. This is the engine you buy if your priorities are low running costs, cheap insurance, and mostly city driving. It's smooth for a 3-cylinder, sounds better than you might expect when you push it, and for everyday use, it's perfectly fine. The downside is that once you load the car up with passengers or hit the motorway, it can feel a bit breathless. Reliability-wise, the B38 has proven to be one of BMW's better modern engines. Common issues tend to be relatively minor, like ignition coil failures, which can cause misfires, and PCV valve diaphragm failures that lead to rough idle or oil consumption. Some owners also report coolant expansion tank leaks and thermostat issues over time, but these are more annoyances than catastrophic failures. Step up slightly and you'll find the 109i, which is one of the most popular petrol versions of the F40. Early models used a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder with around 140 horsepower, while later versions introduced mild hybrid assistance in some markets. This engine hits a sweet spot for many buyers. It feels noticeably quicker than the 116i, especially in the mid-range, and it's still pretty efficient. In real-world driving, it's more than enough for daily use, overtaking, and longer trips. The same general reliability story applies here as with the 116i, because it's essentially the same engine tuned a bit harder. Coil packs, spark plugs, and sensors can fail, especially if servicing has been skipped. Oil quality matters a lot on these turbocharged engines, and extended oil change intervals can lead to sludge buildup and premature wear. If you're buying used, a full service history is not optional, it's essential. Then, there's the 120i, which is where things start to feel properly quick. This model uses BMW's 2.0-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, the B48, producing around 178 horsepower in pre-facelift cars and similar figures in later versions with slight tweaks. This engine transforms the character of the car. Acceleration is strong, the engine is smoother and quieter than the 3-cylinder units, and it feels more in line with what people expect from a BMW. The B48 is generally regarded as a solid engine, especially compared to some older BMW 4-cylinders. However, it's not flawless. One of the most common issues is oil filter housing gasket leaks. Over time, the gasket hardens and starts leaking oil, which can drip onto other components and create a mess if not addressed. Coolant leaks from plastic components are also fairly common. And Vanos solenoids can fail, causing rough running or engine warning lights. None of these are cheap fixes if you ignore them, but they're well-known issues and manageable if caught early. At the top of the regular petrol range sits the M135i xDrive, at least before the facelift. This is the hot hatch version of the F40, and it uses a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, producing around 306 horsepower in early cars and around 300 horsepower in later versions due to emissions regulations. Purists still argue that a proper M-performance car should have 6 cylinders, and they're not wrong, but there's no denying that this thing is fast. With all-wheel drive and a quick-shifting automatic gearbox, it launches hard and pulls strongly all the way through the rev range. It's the kind of car that can embarrass much more expensive machinery in a straight line. Reliability-wise, the M135i shares many of the same potential issues as the 120i, just under more stress. Oil leaks, cooling system issues, and high-pressure fuel pump failures can occur. Because these cars are often driven hard, wear items like brakes, tires, and suspension components tend to go faster. If you're buying one used, be very wary of heavily modified examples or cars with a questionable service history. There's also the 128 Ti, which deserves a special mention. This model sits just below the M135i in terms of outright power, producing around 265 horsepower from a tuned version of the same 2.0-liter engine. Unlike the M135i, the 128 Ti is front-wheel drive only, and BMW tuned it to be more playful and engaging on twisty roads rather than just brutally fast in a straight line. It has a mechanical limited slip differential, sportier suspension, and a more old-school hot hatch feel. Reliability concerns are similar to the other B48-powered cars, with added attention needed for the differential and front drivetrain components if the car has been driven aggressively. On the diesel side, BMW offered the F40 with several options that cater to long-distance drivers and fuel economy fans. The entry-level diesel is the 116D, which uses a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder turbo diesel producing around 116 horsepower. Like its petrol counterpart, it's not exciting, but it's efficient and surprisingly capable for daily use. Diesel engines tend to be more sensitive to driving style, and this one is no exception. Short trips and lots of city driving can lead to DPF clogging, which can be expensive to fix if ignored. EGR valve and EGR cooler issues have also been reported, and BMW has had recalls related to EGR systems in various diesel models. If you're considering a 116D, make sure your driving habits actually suit a diesel engine. The 108D steps things up with a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder diesel, producing around 150 horsepower. This is arguably one of the best all-rounders in the F40 lineup. It has plenty of torque, making it effortless on the motorway, and fuel economy is excellent. Reliability is generally good, but again, DPF issues are common if the car hasn't been driven properly. AdBlue system faults can also occur, including failed sensors and injectors, which can trigger warning lights and even prevent the car from starting if not addressed. These systems are complex and not cheap to repair, so a clean diagnostic check is a must before buying. At the top of the diesel range sits the 120D, producing around 190 horsepower. This engine offers strong performance with impressive efficiency, making it a great choice for drivers who want speed without the fuel bills of a petrol hot hatch. It uses the same basic engine architecture as the 118D, but tuned more aggressively. As a result, the same potential issues apply, just with slightly higher stress on components. Turbocharger issues can occur if oil changes are skipped or poor quality oil is used. Again, service history is everything here. Beyond engines, there are several other areas where the F40 has developed a reputation for specific problems. One of the most talked about issues is the dual-clutch automatic transmission used in many models. While it offers quick shifts and good efficiency, it can be jerky at low speeds, especially in stop-and-go traffic. Some owners report hesitation, clunking, or rough engagement when pulling away. Software updates can improve this behavior, but in some cases, the issues persist. More serious problems with the mechatronics unit are rare but expensive when they do occur. Suspension and steering components are another area to watch. The F40 is heavier than its predecessor, and over time, bushes, control arms, and dampers can wear out, especially on cars with larger wheels and sportier suspension setups. Clunking noises over bumps and vague steering feel are common symptoms. Alignment issues can also lead to uneven tire wear, which can be costly if not addressed early. Inside the cabin, the F40 generally feels solid and well-built, but it's not immune to modern car annoyances. Infotainment glitches are fairly common, especially in early cars with iDrive 7. Screens can freeze, reboot randomly, or lose connectivity with smartphones. Software updates usually fix these issues, but not all owners keep their cars up to date. Digital instrument clusters have also been known to reset or display error messages for no apparent reason. Electrical gremlins like battery drain, faulty sensors, and warning lights can pop up, often related to the car's complex network of control modules. Build quality issues are relatively minor, but worth mentioning. Rattles from the dashboard, center console, or panoramic roof are not unheard of, especially as the car ages. Door seals can cause wind noise at motorway speeds, and some owners complain about thin paint that chips easily. None of these issues are deal breakers on their own, but they can add up and affect your overall ownership experience. So what does all of this mean if you're thinking about buying a BMW 1 Series F40? It means this is a car that can be a fantastic daily driver if you choose the right version and go in with your eyes open. It's more practical and refined than older 1 Series models, packed with technology, and still offers that premium feel BMW is known for. But it's also a modern, complex car with turbocharged engines, advanced electronics, and emission systems that demand proper maintenance. If you're the kind of driver who does mostly short trips around town, a small petrol engine like the 116i or 108i makes a lot of sense. If you want a balance of performance and refinement, the 120i is hard to beat. If you want outright speed and don't mind higher running costs, the M135i or 128Ti will put a smile on your face every time you press the accelerator. And if you rack up motorway miles and value fuel economy, the 108D or 120D are excellent choices, as long as you drive them properly and keep up with maintenance. At the end of the day, the BMW 1 Series F40 isn't about being the purest driving machine anymore. It's about being a modern premium hatchback that fits into everyday life. If you understand that, choose wisely, and don't ignore the warning signs. It can be a very satisfying car to own. And if you're willing to do a bit of homework before buying, you can avoid most of the common pitfalls and enjoy everything this generation of the 1 Series has to offer without nasty surprises down the road.